That night, Dina had just moved into her new rented house with her mother. The place wasn't big, but it was cozy. Still, from the very first moment she entered her bedroom, Dina felt like someone was watching her. When the lights went out, she heard a soft knocking coming from under the bed. Talk. She thought it was just a mouse, but every time she looked underneath, the sound stopped, and when she lay back down, the knocking started again. The next night, it wasn't knocking anymore. It was a child's laugh. Hey, you're not asleep yet? Dina quickly turned on the light. No one was there. She hesitated, then slowly bent down to look under the bed, and saw a pair of small eyes staring back at her. A tiny body, messy long hair, and skin pale as paper. The little girl smiled. "You're sleeping in my place," Dina screamed, and her mother ran in, turning on the light. But the child was gone. Only a small handprint remained on the floor, as if something had just crawled out from under the bed. The next morning, Dina's mother asked a neighbor about the house. The neighbor stared at her for a long moment, then said quietly, "Before you moved in, there was another family here. They had a daughter, about Dina's age. She disappeared. They said she was playing hide and seek, hiding under the bed, and was never found." That night, Dina slept on the living room sofa, but just as she was about to fall asleep, she heard a faint whisper from the bedroom. "I'm still here. It's your turn to hide now." For the next few nights, Dina refused to sleep in her room, but on the fifth night, her mother insisted, "You have to be brave, sweetheart. There's nothing under the bed." Reluctantly, Dina went back into the room. Her mother tucked her in, kissed her forehead, and turned off the light. The silence lasted only a few minutes. Then scratch, scratch, scratch. It came from under the bed. Dina froze. She didn't dare move. The scratching grew louder, faster, like something digging through the wooden floor. Then came a whisper. "You didn't hide yet." Dina covered her ears. "Stop it, go away," she shouted. Suddenly, the bed shook, just a little, and something cold brushed against her foot. Her scream echoed through the house. Her mother burst into the room, turned on the light, and saw deep claw marks on the floorboards, leading out from under the bed, all the way to the wall. When they looked closer, they saw a small hand pressing out from inside the wall, fingers twitching. The next morning, workers were called to check the wall. When they broke it open, they found a small space, like a hidden crawl area. Inside it was a torn doll, a hair ribbon, and tiny teeth marks on the wood. No body, just a whisper that seemed to come from the empty hole. "Now it's your turn to stay inside." After the workers sealed the wall, Dina and her mother thought the nightmare was finally over. But that night, something felt wrong. The air was heavy. The house was too quiet. Even the clock in the living room had stopped ticking. When Dina brushed her teeth before bed, she noticed the mirror above the sink was fogged up. Even though the air was cold and dry, she wiped it with her hand. For a moment, she saw her own reflection. Then, behind her reflection, she saw a small shadow, standing by the bathroom door. A child's voice whispered, "You found my toy. Now find me." The lights flickered. Dina turned around, nothing there. But when she looked back at the mirror, the reflection didn't move. Her mirror self was still standing still, staring, smiling, and slowly, the reflection lifted its hand and pointed down, to her feet. Dina looked down and saw a tiny, pale hand reaching out from under the bathroom cabinet, gripping her ankle. She screamed, kicked, and ran out of the bathroom. Her mother rushed in and hugged her tightly, trembling. But then, they both heard it, from the mirror Dina had just left behind. "Don't run. You're still playing hide and seek." The reflection of the little girl smiled wider, her lips stretching unnaturally, and right before the mirror, cracked, another voice whispered, from the broken glass, "Next time, I'll hide inside you." Since that night, Dina refused to look into any mirrors. Her mother covered them all. The bathroom mirror, the wardrobe glass, even the one in the hallway. But Dina still felt watched. Every time she walked past a dark surface, a window, the TV, a puddle of water, she saw a faint reflection smiling back. And it wasn't her smile. One morning, her mother found Dina sitting on her bed, staring at the turned-off TV. Her lips were trembling. "She's there again," Dina whispered. "She says she likes my face." Her mother turned on the TV to show there was nothing, only static. But in the flickering gray screen, for just a second, she saw two Dinas, one sitting on the bed, and one inside the screen, smiling with black, hollow eyes. That night, Dina woke up to a sound. Tap, 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 on the mirror she had covered with a blanket. The blanket began to move, as if something behind it was pressing out. Then came the voice. You covered my face, why? The blanket fell, and there she was, the little girl, standing inside the mirror, her head tilted, her grin wide, and her voice soft. I want to be you now. Before Dina could scream, her reflection moved first, reaching through the glass. Her mother burst in and found Dina collapsed on the floor, shaking. The mirror was cracked and her reflection was gone. For days after, Dina barely spoke. She just sat still, staring at nothing, until one night, she turned to her mother and smiled. It wasn't her smile. Mom, I found a better hiding place. Dina's mother knew something was wrong. The girl in front of her looked like Dina, but her eyes were darker, her voice softer, and her smile too still. At night, she would hear Dina humming a lullaby she'd never taught her, a slow, broken tune that always ended with a whisper, "Hide with me." One evening, when her mother was cooking, she heard Dina giggling from the bedroom, but when she peeked inside, no one was there, only the bed, and two small footprints on the floor, facing opposite directions, as if two children had been standing there. Later that night, her mother checked on her again. Dina was sitting on the bed, brushing her hair in the dark. The mirror across from her, the one they had covered, was uncovered again. "Sweetheart, who opened that?" "She wanted to see us," Dina replied, her voice cold. "She says she missed you, too." Her mother's heart froze. "Who?" Dina smiled without blinking. "The girl under my bed." The mother dropped to her knees and looked under the bed. Darkness, silence. Then a face appeared, pale, grinning, and whispering in a voice that was half Dina's, half something else. "You took my home. Now I'll take yours." The lights flickered. When her mother looked back up, Dina was gone. Only her reflection remained in the mirror, standing behind the mother, smiling, even though the real room was empty. Days passed, and Dina was still missing. But every night, her mother heard her voice echoing through the house, soft, playful, too close. "Mom, I'm still here. Look closer." Desperate, her mother covered every mirror again. But no matter what she did, Dina's reflection always found a way to appear. On the microwave door, on the window glass, on the TV screen, always smiling, always whispering. That night, thunder rattled the roof. Her mother was sitting in the dark, clutching a photo of Dina. When the TV flickered on by itself, static filled the screen, then cleared. Dina was there, inside the TV, sitting on the floor of her old bedroom. Her head slowly turned toward the camera. "Mom, I want you to come play too." The screen cracked, and a pale hand began pressing out from it. Her mother screamed and unplugged the cord, but the image remained, the girl still moving closer from the inside. "It's lonely here." Under the bed, the TV went black, but when she turned around, Dina was standing in the doorway, soaking wet, her eyes empty. "Sweetheart," her mother whispered. Dina tilted her head, her voice layered, two voices speaking at once. "You shouldn't have looked under the bed." The mother stumbled back, crying, "Please give me my daughter back." Dina smiled wider. "I am your daughter now." The lights went out, and in the darkness, only the sound of scratching could be heard, this time coming from every mirror in the house. The next morning, Dina's mother ran out of the house. Rain poured down, washing the mud and fear from her face. But the echoes of scratching still filled her ears. She reached the neighbor's door and begged for help. "Please, please, my daughter's gone. There's something in the mirrors." The neighbor, Mr. Adi, frowned and led her inside. "Calm down, ma'am, sit." Then he froze. The mirror above the fireplace was uncovered, and in it, behind them both, stood a little girl with long wet hair, smiling faintly. Mr. Adi turned around. No one there. But when he looked back at the glass, the girl was closer. "You can't hide her anymore," she whispered. The mirror cracked, splitting her face into pieces, yet her eyes kept moving inside the shards. That night, the entire neighborhood began to notice strange things. Reflections waving when they didn't, eyes blinking out of sync, children laughing in empty rooms. One by one, families began covering their mirrors, but it didn't matter. The girl's reflection began showing up everywhere, in puddles after the rain, in windows of parked cars, even on phone screens when people took pictures. Each time, the same faint whisper could be heard through the static. "You found me once. Now everyone can see me." Dina's mother locked herself inside a motel room, too terrified to sleep. But in the darkness, she saw the reflection again, this time not in a mirror, but in her own eyes staring back from the window. "Mom, you can't run from me. I'm already inside." Her reflection smiled, while the real her did not. The story began to spread online. People from the same town started posting about strange reflections in their photos. Some said a child's face appeared in their selfies. Others claimed their mirrors whispered at night. At first, no one believed it until someone went live. A local streamer named Rio started a midnight live stream titled, "Exploring the Haunted House Where the Girl Disappeared." Thousands joined. The camera followed him as he entered Dina's old room. Dust, silence, the bed still there, and a large mirror leaned against the wall. Shattered, but not broken enough. "Hello, anyone here?" Rio said, laughing nervously. The chat exploded. "Behind you." Someone moved. "The mirror." Rio turned the camera toward the mirror. For a moment, the reflection looked normal. Then a child's head rose slowly from under the bed in the reflection. But in the real room, nothing was there. Only in the reflection. The chat went wild. "Fake," someone typed. Rio crouched, trying to prove it wasn't real, and lifted the blanket hanging off the bed. The live stream glitched. The viewers screamed in the comments. The reflection was still there, but Rio was gone. The phone fell to the floor, still recording, and from the reflection, the little girl stepped forward, out of the glass. The camera caught one last whisper before the feed cut to static. "Now you're all playing." Within hours, people who had watched the live stream began reporting the same thing. Their phone screens flickering, mirrors distorting, and faint knocking sounds coming from under their beds. By the next morning, the live stream had been viewed over 5 million times. People shared clips, slowed them down, analyzed every frame. But those who watched for too long started noticing something strange. Their screens flickered, and for a split second, they saw the little girl smiling back at them. Not from the video, from their own reflections. Soon, reports flooded social media, mirrors cracking on their own, televisions turning on at night, and a voice whispering through headphones, soft, childlike, playful. "You looked at me. Now I can see you too." In one viral clip, a woman tried to destroy her mirror while streaming live. She smashed it to pieces, but the reflection didn't break. The chat watched in horror as the broken shards kept moving, forming a face that whispered, "You can't hide from a reflection. It hides in you." Governments issued warnings. News anchors told people not to watch the original video, but it was too late. Copies spread everywhere, on phones, smart TVs, even car screens. And every night at 3:07 a.m., across different countries, people reported hearing scratching beneath their beds. Those who checked never woke up again. Dina's mother, now hiding in an abandoned motel, heard a knock on her door. Tock, tock, tock. She froze. "Who's there?" A child's voice answered from the other side. "Mom, everyone's hiding now, but you're still it." The lights flickered. The TV turned on by itself, showing a dark reflection of her room, and in that reflection, she saw herself sleeping on the floor, while a pale hand reached out from beneath her body. The motel room smelled of dust and rain. Dina's mother hadn't slept in days. Every mirror, every screen, even the faintest reflection in a cup of water, she covered them all. But one night, she found a small note slipped under her door. It was written in a child's handwriting. "You shouldn't have looked under the bed." Her hands shook. She remembered the first time Dina had said those exact words. She decided to return to the old house, to end it. Inside, the house was silent, but as she walked into Dina's room, the floor creaked softly, and she noticed something she'd never seen before. A trapdoor, half hidden under the bed. She opened it. The air below was cold and stale, filled with the smell of damp wood. Holding her flashlight, she climbed down. At the bottom was a small crawl space, walls lined with mirrors, old and blackened by time, and in the center, a rotted wooden crib. Carved into the side of it were the words, "She only wanted to be seen." The light flickered. Behind her, in the mirrors, dozens of children's faces began to appear, pale, silent, their eyes wide, and in the center of them all was Dina. "She found us, Mom. Now we'll never be alone again." The mirrors began to hum a low, vibrating sound as all the reflections smiled in unison. The mother screamed and shattered the glass, but when it broke, she saw her own reflection, still standing, smiling. "You can't break what's already inside you." And then silence. Only the sound of soft knocking rising again from under the floor. Tock, tock, tock. Years later, the old house stood abandoned. The paint had peeled, the roof sagged, and ivy had swallowed the walls. No one went near it anymore, not after all the stories. But one rainy afternoon, a young couple stopped by. They were urban explorers, filming for their horror channel. They laughed about the rumors, saying it was all just internet folklore. Inside, the air was cold and heavy. Dust floated like ash. They found Dina's old room, the broken bed, the cracked mirror, the stains of time. Creepy, but fake, one of them said. Let's get a close-up under the bed for the video. He bent down, camera in hand. The other laughed nervously. Don't joke around like that. But then, his laughter stopped. The camera fell to the floor, pointing toward the dark space beneath the bed. And for a moment, through the shaky lens, something moved. Tiny fingers pressed out from the shadows. A soft, childlike whisper filled the microphone. It's your turn to hide. The screen flickered, static, then black. A week later, the video was uploaded to their channel. No one knows who posted it, but every person who watched it claimed to hear a faint knocking from under their bed that night. Talk, 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 talk. And somewhere, deep in the darkness, a little girl giggled. Found you?